Flosstube! Welcome to my channel. My name is Geraldine and I go by X Stitches here on YouTube and over at Instagram. So if you'd like to see more, I post quite a bit on Instagram, and you'll be able to see kind of what I'm working on throughout the week. I post fairly often. So hop on over to Instagram when you have a minute and follow me there. It's been about a week and a half since I last filmed a video, and I'm happy and excited to be back. I hope you all are well. We are in the middle of an ice storm here in West Michigan. So yeah, it's a good opportunity to film a video, cuddle up with some stitching. So grab a drink, some of your stitching, and come along with me. Today I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update on just kind of some things that have been going on Stitchy adjacent. Go over some finishes that I have. It's exciting. Show you my whips, a little bit of haul, and also what my plans are for the next few weeks. So let's get started. Okay. I'm going to try to do a little bit better of like not constantly looking at my notes. It's one of those things where like if I have notes, I look at them. If I don't have notes, I squirrel all over the place. So we'll see how this goes. So stitching in frames. Since we've last seen each other, I have continued to stitch in scroll frames. I'm loving it. I'm actually starting to prefer it to stitching in hand. I do now, after having done it for a few weeks, feel like it does help me be more accurate because I can get that linen stretched a little bit more so that I can make sure that I'm not missing threads or skipping holes, those kinds of things. If I do make a mistake, I find that I'm catching it earlier in the process for the most part. I have been experimenting with using stands now because this, depending on the size of the scroll rods, it can be a little bit cumbersome the way that I showed you that I hold my scroll frames in the tutorial video that I shot. So I have a K's Creation Z frame, lap stand. There we go. That did okay. It worked just great for a Q-snap. I struggled a little bit with my scroll frames, and I do have scroll frames like with the hole in the middle to thread bolt to thread a bolt through with a clamp, or whatever that thing is called that I can't think of, a wing nut. But I got my K's stand off of Etsy, and I don't remember it coming with the wider spacer and the bolt. So I don't have a bolt that works very well. It's extra long, and then I don't quite have enough space between the scroll frame and the arm that comes up to hold it, to not have the knobs of my scroll frames like hit that frame. And I didn't see on K's Creations, I'm sure I could reach out to the company, I didn't see immediately on their website that there was a way just to order that replacement spacer and bolt with the appropriate knob to fasten it. And to be honest, I don't love that setup. I did end up purchasing the stand that's pretty easy to find on Amazon, where it's like the two legs and then the arms come up in like a 3-arm pivot. So there's 3 sections that kind of pivot to go around you and then up. And then there's a bar that goes across to hold the legs together. From that bar that goes across, there's 2 arms that come down, and it's almost like it creates an easel. And I really like that because it's easy to flip your work without loosening a knob. And when I stitch in hand, I can move my frames side to side so that I can keep the area of the scroll frame that I'm working on in the middle of me, instead of having to kind of shift my body. When you're stuck between the frame, it's difficult, right? To you can't really move it. So you have to move the frame. I like that. I like how that stand frees my lap up for any animals that might want to join me while I'm stitching. What I don't like is it's just a little bit more unstable than maybe a lap stand would be, because it's got to like fit the way the couch is, and like the couch goes down on the edges, and I kind of tend to sit like close and kind of leaning on the armrest, so it kind of gets in that gap and it doesn't quite, it works really well. But the moral of the story is I did order a hope stand. So I saw Jan Hicks Creates her video from about a year ago where she had ordered a hope stand. So that is made by, I don't remember his first name. So I went on Facebook group, Cross Stitch Stands and Frames. You can request to be a member. It's a closed group. And then Bonnie Hope is the person that you reach out to. If you search through the threads, you can find the posting with their pricing and everything. So what's different about the Hope stand that her husband makes is it's a lap stand with two arms that come up, and you can adjust the width of that. But basically the arms come up and create that easel for you that is adjustable and moves around. So it's like the lap stand with the easel combo that I think will work really well for me, and I think it will translate table to lap so that I have something when I'm out and about stitching. So I've ordered, and I think they're making it for me, and we'll wait and see. What I really liked about that stand too is that you can purchase an extra light bar. So it gives you like a bar behind your easel area to clamp a light on, clamp your phone on potentially, so that usually I'm like kind of have YouTube on my phone like off to the side in like a really awkward spot. So I'm excited to try that out and get that. What I found with the lap stand with the two arms that go beside me, like that would be way too wide to take with me to a Stitchy meetup or a retreat. Like it would just take up too much real estate, and it's pretty big. It doesn't collapse down. So I think that one will be better for traveling as well and kind of fit. There was a reason why I purchased the K's Creation frame back when I did, because I liked how the lap stand is. I can slide it and pivot it kind of where I need it on my lap based on how I'm sitting. So I'm really excited for that, and I will definitely show you all when I get it. The other exciting update is that I attended my very first Stitchy meetup. So I have officially like cross-stitched with other people who also cross-stitch. So last Saturday, my local needlework shop, Country Needleworks, they have a Stitchy group that meets there on the third Saturday of every month from 10 to noon. So if you're in the West Michigan area, stop over. It was really great to meet everyone. They were all very welcoming. It was like an immediate, I fit in here. It was just really, I don't know, if you're a part of this community, you probably understand it. It's just really hard to describe it. You just have to experience it. And so all of the community that I have felt through Facebook and Instagram groups, Facebook groups and Instagram, and also through Flosstube, I had it in real life too. Not that that's not real life, but you know what I mean. In person, face to face. So that group also meets at a local Panera near me every once in a while as well. So they're going to meet next on Saturday morning. So I'm hoping that I can make that one as well. I had a ton of fun. I didn't want to leave when the time was over. I definitely had things I needed to do to get on with my day, but I could have sat there and stitched with them all day. It was really great. So my plan of taking something that had fill-in worked really well, so that I was able to kind of divide my attention between my work and the conversation without feeling like I was going to make a mistake. So I had a lot of fun, and I'm excited to hang out with my Stitchy friends more. Yeah. So let's move on to finishes. There's like a spoiler over here because I thought it would be fun to put them up here. So, whoopsie. My first finish is an easy one. So I started this, oh, I meant to, here, I can just look quick. It's right here. So my 2022 book of days will tell me when I started this whip. If I can, it's been a while since I've been in here. I don't know where my whip list is. Here it is. Okay. So I started, excuse me, I started Tree Topper by Satsuma Street on November 14th, 2022. And over the weekend I finished it. I actually forgot, I had to look up the date in my old book of days because I forgot to, like, when I was making my whip list, I must have accidentally skipped over that one. So it wasn't on my whip list. So I think my highest count so far this year for whips is 21 if I add this in. But now I'm back down to 20 after I finish this one. So this is Tree Topper by Satsuma. I had just started like the beard just in the middle here to try to, I was working on the what's inside the beading there for his beard. I was working on that to try and get that outline done before I like did fill in on the beard. That didn't work out very well with the white and the perforated paper because I'm used to stitching on linen, so like counting is a little bit different, and the bead, having to skip for the beads and getting confused, it was just better for me to like go line by line. But Saturday night and then a little bit on Sunday morning finished this up for me. So I think I set Sunday, by the time Sunday morning rolled around, I had like 3 or 4 rows of the beard left and then all the beading to do. So it was a pretty quick finish. Just felt like working on something a little small and getting like an easy finish. It didn't dwindle my whip list down technically because I hadn't counted it, but it'll be good to have this done. I don't have an immediate plan to start another one. The idea was to kind of have an ornament going kind of at all times, but I'm not quite ready to start again. I'm sure I will at some point. I'm also, you know, these are usually, you trim around the edge and then back with either paper or felt, glue a piece of string at the top, and then use it as an ornament, or you can put a magnet on the back and use it as a magnet, stick it to something that's metal. I don't know, I was trying to think if there was something a little bit more unique that I could do with it, because it is paper. I think any other things that I would do, I'd either have to like color the paper or like do the fill-in to like make a board, you know what I mean, to make a border if I wanted to, because it would be a fun like little needle book or something if I made it like into a rectangle. I'll probably just trim it and use it as an ornament. I think my hesitation with using it as an ornament is I don't think it will end up on my tree like in my living room, but there might be some rearranging with the way that we decorate next year. Maybe there's a place for this, or my daughter, she didn't last year, but in previous years, she puts a tree in her room that has more of our like kitschy ornaments from when we were kids and ornaments that she's received over the years. That's kind of where our mismatch ornaments go. So I'm sure she would be happy to have it on her tree too. So we'll figure that out. So not quite sure how I'm going to fully finish that yet. My other finish is a big one. I don't have a ton of whips to show you because I've been working pretty hard on this. I was going to write down the total. I've worked on this 7 days since I last filmed, and I started this project on January 1st of this year. This was one of my New Year New Starts, and it is There Is Always Room by Maximum Cross Stitch. So isn't it great? Again, like, for as long as it took me, I feel like it's small. And it is on 40 count. So it's on 40 count Dirty Porcelain with the called for Leo and Roxy. I did do a little bit of interpretation and personalization. So some of the, like the errata symbol chart and like the original symbol chart, I kind of merged those two in some places depending on what I was stitching and kind of by looking at the front cover. And then these flowers that are satin stitched, those, let's see if I can get it to focus. Still working with this new camera, I don't know how to get it to focus. Those flowers are supposed to be yellow, but I don't love yellow flowers. I think they're probably supposed to be sunflowers, but they're like not my favorite. Jewel tone things are generally more my style and less like yellow. So I modified those, and then the windows in the foyer should have been black like the rest of them, and I wanted to make it look like there was a light on in the foyer, so I made those yellow so that there's they look like there's light shining through. And then I made the dog look like my puppy, Millie. She's a party Yorkie, so she's all different colors of brown and black and white and gray. And then I had a lot of fun doing these specialty stitches. So the smeared crosses over here, and then the Algerian eyelets for the heart. And I'm really sorry, I don't know how to get this to focus. I tried to look for like an autofocus setting or something on this camera, but if it's really bad, I'll take some pictures and throw them in there. They're also, I did close-ups of my specialty stitches on Instagram. Satin stitches. So I followed Nicola Parkman's satin stitch tutorial. When she explained it, she talked about how because your padded satin stitch is really puffy, you don't go all the way to the edge of your stitch. You kind of go like a half a stitch back, so like the thread before your half a stitch. And I did that, and then so you do your satin stitches the opposite way of the direction your thread is supposed to be at the end, and then so you do that twice, and then you go the right direction according to your chart. I did 3 times for these. To get the desired effect, and then you back stitch all around the edge. When I did all of that and then back stitch around the edge, I had parts that still like had linen showing. I wonder if I misunderstood the instructions and only the bottom padding, like the opposite direction satin stitches were supposed to be in, and maybe like the final top stitches were supposed to be in. I tried that with the last flower. The last one I did was at the bottom, and it turned out a little better, so I'm not quite sure. If you know, please tell me, because, sorry, I have like Flosstube nose. But yeah, I am super happy. Mid last week, I ordered a frame from Sign and Numbered. They were great. I don't have it yet. I don't believe it's shipped yet because they do they're making it to order. But the frame will come with a mat, and I told them like what size piece I had, and so they're going to make sure that I have whatever space makes sense, but like a little bit of space of fabric before the mat and then the frame. And I'm excited to see it. I picked, I think, like a dark wood with like a gold frame because I wanted it to like kind of pull out the color of the house, the ochre. I just love that house. It was so fun to stitch. So yeah, I'm excited. I finished this today, so that would be February 22nd. I saved the root, so I did that. I had the outline of the house done, and then went up, like, and then did the baskets and like did all the motifs. And then the very last thing that I did, because I was saving it for last, was fill it. I wanted to have fill-in available for when I wasn't going to need to pay attention. And I really enjoyed kind of just saying not goodbye, but kind of like just finishing the piece, putting the final touches on with just some really chill, mindless stitching. I was worried that like saving the easy, like the super easy to the end would get monotonous if I had just a lot of fill, but I actually really enjoyed it. And like, if I would, before I would stitched a brick and mortar house, I would have thought I'd be super annoyed with filling in the mortar and then putting the bricks in. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So I'm excited to get the frame for this so that I can get it finished and up on my wall. It's really fun. So we're gonna put that back there for you to look at while we talk some more. So those are my finishes. So we can talk about whips. Where to start? Reaching Skyward. Let's start there. All of these rods are like stuck together with my little magnet holders. Oh, timber. I still haven't figured out like how to get everything like all set up and organized, so I'm not like bending down or reaching over, or laying everything out. And that's a little bit more of a challenge now that I've moved everything into scroll frames. So, all right. Oh, and I was gonna pull my board out, and then I ended up using it to put that finish on. Ooh. Sorry, this is gonna be a little bit of a challenge. So reaching skyward, I should show you the chart. It hasn't been that long. Shouldn't be this out of practice. Okay. Of course it's on the bottom. Reaching Skyward, Jacob of Modern Folk Embroidery, the 2023 stitch along. It's got like 40-some thousand stitches. I really enjoy it. I enjoy working on it. It's great. I'm trying to figure out how to do this without it all unraveling. So my goal is my goal for this piece kind of evolved over the month, and I'll kind of explain why. So here's the piece so far, how far I am. Whoopsie daisy, there we go. So this vase over here was wrong by one stitch, and it was going to make everything in the middle of the motif over there one too big. So I had to take it out and move it, because the whole piece here, like the center, is kind of, that's the foundation. So, which made me and I had done a little bit more on this piece than what was required for January, because I wanted to finish those motifs. I didn't like stopping in the middle. So, I had to pull it out, and I realized that it wasn't going to work very well for me to follow Jacob's instructions for a couple of like the way he's plotted out the months, for a couple of reasons. One, I like finishing the motifs and checking and using that to make sure I'm in the right spot. Two, I knew that I needed to get this foundation done and then fill in so that I'm not like messing up. And because I'm doing a lot of switching up of the optional, I can show you here, like between the two options that they have, he has for each chart, each little section. So you can see like my two pillars in the middle there are different. So it just, when you're going to the charts that are just those little pieces of repeat, or those little tiny pieces that don't have like the whole chart together, it's, I think, helpful for me to have like that foundation structure of like the general outline. So that's my tactic. The last thing about it is I went heavy into holiday stitching at the end of last year. Once November hit and like I started a few holiday things for my birthday, like I was done, and I did work on my 2023 sal, but I was slightly mad about it because I wanted to be holiday stitching, but I also wanted to keep up and finish my piece, which at that point I was catching up, not just keeping up. Which I ended up finishing like the first or second week of January. I finished my 2022 sal from Jacob. So, because of that, I decided that my soft goal for every month is to get 8%, is that right? 8% of the chart done to get me to 8% per month will get me finished by the end of 2023. In January, I was at about 10%. And so like my stretch goal for each month is to get to, is it 16%? No, 10%. Why is math hard? Because it's not hard, Geraldine. Like, it's not rocket science. I feel like it... Okay, 12% per month, because there's 12 months in a year. Would be... Wait. Okay, this is why I didn't go into anything that's heavy in the math. I'm more of a, like, science-y girl. Okay, I got it. So, 12 goes into 100 8 times-ish, which gets me, why I said 8. So in February, I should have been to 16%, which I got to when I think when I filmed my last video, or I was close. I don't remember. But my stretch goal was to get to 20%, because 10% a month, which is 10 months divided into 100%, right? So I'm not saying that right, but you know what I mean. So 10% a month will have me finished in 10 months, so that by November 1st, hopefully, if I can stick with that, I'll be done. And then I will have all of November and December to holiday stitch and be super proud and accomplished of my work. So thank you, Jacob, for making it this way so that we can kind of go at our own pace and make it work for us. And I just love being able to kind of switch up my motifs as I go. It's from, like, as you can see, mine is not going to be 100% a mirror image. I am switching up different elements, and even, I just rolled it back up, but I'm going to show you, even like this inside border of the little bird motif. So this, around this dark blue, these birds in here is design A, the original pattern, but the Amaretto is the color of this taupey border on the inside, that's B. So like there's more here than what Jacob even called out that you can be flexible and kind of switch up. So pay attention to that. Maybe you've noticed that already, but if you haven't, take a closer look at what your options are if you want to kind of switch things up, so you can really truly make this your own. So that's Reaching Skyward. I'm done with that for this month, and I was done last weekend, so like 3 or 4 days ago. I think I finished it up maybe on Friday. Yeah, on Friday night, so it's Wednesday today. So I've had quite a bit of opportunity to stitch more on other things. So it feels really good to have that accomplished and done. Like I said, I enjoy stitching on it. It's super fun. But it's nice to be like, okay, I'm done with that goal. I can put it away and see it. Like I have structure around the next time I'm going to work on it. Okay, the other one that you've seen. Okay, so I worked on that, Reaching Skyward, I worked on that 7 days, not like 7 stitching sessions, I should say. I don't keep track of time, I just keep track of like what I stitch on each day. So some of those might have been a weekend day where I get a little bit more stitching done. A lot of them are evenings. And then I worked on it 4 times to get it from where you saw it last time. Okay. My next one, I will have to put a picture in for, whoops, that's just the chart. For a picture of the chart, I only have printed the chart, not like the front page or the cover of the chart. This is Shaded Stitchery's Data Portraits in Paris, 1900. I am not, full disclosure, whoops, it goes this way. I am not caught up. I was caught up, I was behind, and then I was caught up, and then I got behind again because I just wanted There's Always Room done. So I think I will pick this up tonight to get caught up. I have miscounted so much in here. Some I fixed and some I haven't gone back to fix. So like don't look too close, but that is what it is too. I'm going to blame the linen. This is Legacy Fuller's Teasel. It's the leftover from my Hands Across the Sea, she's right over there, Emily Ann Foster, that I did as my blessing sampler at the beginning of this year, 2023. There's just something about this linen that like I struggle with. I miss threads, I miscount. It's just, and I think that ended up being the culprit when I was working on Emily too, because I did struggle a lot with that and had a lot of ripping and barely enough floss to finish. So anyways, here's where I am on Data Portraits. So I have, I think I did Sunday. So Sunday is here. So I have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday left. So it's like, wow. The camera doesn't reverse like your phone does so that it makes sense. It doesn't mirror image for you. So I have like 3 motifs over here to do to catch up. I have really been enjoying this. It's a little bit more color changey than I typically enjoy because we are working on it in like each motif each day. I can't like skip around, and I wouldn't on this fabric anyways, because it is a little bit tricky, but I am enjoying that. I'm just thinking about how I might finish it when I'm done. Thinking maybe a project bag. So we will see. I'm just using my own colors for this. It's a linen is the 38 count. I don't think I said that part. Fuller's Teasel. Then I just did like a really quick stash dive of mostly of Roxy Floss to get my colors. Nothing super special there. But it's been a really fun stitch and super informative. So I encourage you to check out Nuri's. I think she has a Gumroad. I think it's on Gumroad. So she's got some other patterns too that are very interesting that I might consider in the future. So that's my data portraits. Now I have 2 new starts to show you that have become whips. The first one I've talked about like for weeks because it's been coming and we've been planning for it. It is Heartstrings Samplery's C is for Coffee. I've been putting in about a strand a day on this, trying to pace myself because I picked this up and I could have stitched until it was done. I love Heartstrings Samplery. There's something about the way she charts. Can't put my finger on it. There is something about the way she, the colors, like, right, because that's 1, 2, 3, 6 colors. I'll just show you the whole thing. It's 6 colors, so it's just really simple. But, like, also, I love the pattern. Like, I love the design. So this is where I am. Sorry. So I got this whole, oh my gosh, seriously. Okay, so I got this whole side done of the coffee cherries and the leaves. And then I had started with outlining the cup. I started in the middle, outlining the cup. Got the white little bit of steam in there just so that I would know where the fill-in was. I have had to backstitch a little bit. Some of the berries I put in without putting the leaves in, I completely counted them wrong. And I knew better, and I still, yesterday I started putting coffee in while my coffee was brewing in the morning before I went to work. And then I saw Caroline's video and realized that there should be like a rim, which totally makes sense, right? Like a rim of coffee cup color. I just like started filling in coffee into the middle of the cup. So I had to pull back those rows at the very top there to get that lighter Amaretto in for the coffee cup color. So I did that this morning. I pulled out the espresso that I had stitched except for that one row that was in the right spot. So that was one strand of espresso that I got in there. So what I did is I clipped my edges and I pulled out what I didn't. I was able to kind of pull back, clip my stitches so that I had enough thread to pull back a few stitches and then secure them in the back, if that makes sense. And then I ripped everything that was on. So there is like one strand is here, or like one like entire connected strand is here, but it was in the middle of my strand. And so I clipped both ends, got rid of the top row, and then pulled the threads behind and secured them in the back. So I didn't have to lose everything, but I lost a significant amount of that stitching today. But that's fine. I'm definitely still on pace. So I'm enjoying this a lot, and I probably have a little bit more than a strand a day to do to be done, but I'm really just trying to pace myself and enjoy it, and I'll speed up towards the end if I need to finish by March 14th. It's really not a lot of stitches. I think it's less than 3,000 stitches total, which is still a lot, right? But like compared to these other pieces that I'm stitching, it's like a drop in the bucket. Okay, so that was my new start, and that is hashtag OTGN Coffee Sal, Off the Grid Needle Arts Coffee Sal is what the OTGN stands for. Okay, I had another new start on the 14th as well. Where is it? Oh, right here. I was going to start this, I wasn't going to start it, and then I did start it, which is fine, because I knew I was going to get There Is Always Room done. And I wanted to have something like this going, because I am stitching it with, I don't have the threads with me, but I'm stitching it with Soie 103. I have it on my scroll frames, the Arabesca ones. These are my favorite. You can get them sets on Amazon. I really enjoy using them, and I need to show you the chart. Here we go. Okay, so with everybody else who's stitching along with traditional stitches, I have finished Lucy Barber, or finished, right, not even close. I have started Lucy Barber. I have a small start on it because I did data portraits that night. I did C is for Coffee, and then I started this one. And I might have put some stitches in something else too. So I don't have a ton. I did not start where the stitch along group is starting because I don't like to start in the top left corner because of how I stitch. So I didn't, but what I did do, I really enjoyed, and I want to do more. I really love working with the 103. Part of the reason I wanted to start was because I wanted to try out the 103s. So this is my first project with the 103 silk, but just a little start. Ooh, 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 there we go. So that is the bottom corner of Lucy Barber. I got like a little baby deer in there. Started on a flower. I do have to double check that flower. I feel like I might have grabbed the wrong silk. So I'm going to triple check my color there. But now that I've kind of gotten that flower in, I might go back and do the border. This is one of those samplers where you actually have to pay attention and count every single border repeat, because randomly in the middle of the sampler there'll be a border that's not the same as all the other ones that are counted. Which is fine. I know that's how they stitched them then. It drives me a little bit batty because I love working on samplers like what Jacob does, and Jacob doesn't do that to you for the most part. At least I haven't stitched anything where he's done that. The count is always very consistent, and I really appreciate about those because once you know what you're doing, you can just stitch. Sorry, I'm picking up patterns everywhere. Okay, so that's Lucy Barber. I just worked on her that one day on the 14th that I started. So I want to get back to her now that There Is Always Room is done. So those are all of the things that I touched since I've seen you last. So let's do a haul really quick. I have a little bit, and then we can talk about plans, and then we can be done. So let's see. I have an idea brewing in my head. It's really all I can say about it at this point, but I have an idea brewing in my head. So I've spent a little bit of time this week doing some Google searching, looking for things, and so I got a couple like 19th century books that have like old charts in them, and I thought that because these were like old charts that they would be available for free use, but these are the ones from, what is her name? It's not on the front. Susan Jones, is that her name? Susan Johnson. And they're like literally just scans or photos of her charts from her personal collection, but she's copyrighted these books, which I didn't expect. I couldn't tell from the Amazon postings. So I'm a little bit disappointed by that because I wanted to have some ideas or things to kind of take pieces and parts and make something of my own, which I could do for personal use. But what's the fun of that if I can't share it? So I don't know, but they're still really fun to look through, and I think they'll still come in handy. I just maybe won't be able to use them the way that I wanted to. I did find a chart book on eBay that is like made for using it for design, so I'm hoping that that one is the jackpot. But this is the first one that I got. It is just 1850, 19th century. It's book one. And then there's this Berlin work patterns from Old Vienna private collection. And then the Victorian Berlin workbook pattern plates. Just trying to tell the difference in the titles. And they are not, they're just how they were in her collection. So there's just colored squares. And the grid lines are even hard to see in the squares. So like there would be still some work to do with these to take the idea of these little designs and like chart them in the colors that you would want. Like, there's some interpretation still here because they're not pristine. And they're not super clear. And I don't think they were meant to be, right? Because you just stitched with what, it was just a guide and you stitched with whatever color thread you had. It just wasn't like it is now. And then this one is an alphabet collection. And this was the first one I received, and I realized it was copyrighted. And I was like, wah, wah, because definitely I'm going to need some alphabets. But again, it's fun to just look at and see. I think this will come in handy for personalization as well, instead of like combing through all of my samplers to look for the size alphabet that I need. So I think they'll come in handy. They're going to go in my collection. And yeah, they were fun to look through. All right. So when I went to my Stitchy meetup at my local needle workshop, they had a few charts. They have lots, but they had a few charts on clearance. And so it's really hard to pass up a chart that's over half price. So especially if it's a sampler. So this is Berry Blossom Sampler from the Heart Needle Art. I love the big red house. The alphabet, or I think like a quote in there would be fun to just personalize it instead. It's just fun and simple. I like the house, and then I like those flowers on the border are really fun. So no immediate plans for these. This will go in my collection. And then this pattern from the Scarlet House, it's got a couple stickers on it, sale stickers on it, so it's like a fourth the price. It was $16.50 before, and I got it for $4. And it is called Good Company. And I liked the little sailboat and the house, and there's like a lady holding a bird and dogs in the front yard. There's a tree with an owl on it. There's a random basket with tulips like floating above the water. It's just really cute and fun and a little bit whimsical. So it says, she lives on a hill overlooking the sea with only her dogs for good company. She doesn't need less, she doesn't need more than to hear the waves crash into the shore. So I liked it. Oh, and I didn't even notice. So the border is cute, and then look, there's like a little stone fence there. So you get like a little bit of that brick and mortar, because the house doesn't look like it's brick and mortar. It looks like it's just fill in. So really fun. Those two will be going in my stash. Okay, last thing. Not this, but it goes with it. So this is, I gotta take it out because, so Post-it. I use Post-it notes for my fabric to figure out like what size fabric I need. So here's my Post-it note. So I know there's calculators for this, but I really enjoy doing it myself because I can adjust how much border I need based on like what my math works out to be. So for example, knowing what fabric I want to put it on potentially, I can be like, well, I can squeeze it this way if I make it like 2.5 inch border instead of a 3 inch border, like that kind of stuff, just because I don't know why, it's like the quilter in me, like I need to like make the best use of my fabric while still making sure I have enough. I'm weird. So anyways, I always stick my Post-it on here because inevitably I do this 3 times because I lose my little piece of paper where I make my notes. So that's why my Post-it is there. But anyways, this is Maximum Cross Stitch's new release, Ellen's new release, the Friendship Sampler. This is super fun. So it's like this big brick house. There's a quote, there's an alphabet, there's cartouches with initials in it. There's people down there, and then there's like a bunch of extras in the back so that you can personalize your people to look like people that you love or love to cross stitch with. And this is a poem I believe that Ellen wrote. A big red house of brick and mortar, an alphabet, a pretty border, a berry bowl, some birds and trees, and the company of friends like these. And then there is an Ada conversion that just says, happiness attends the company of friends. So I will probably do the over one verse. I didn't love the over one on my There Is Always Room down here. I struggled with it. But then when I did my over one up here for my name and the date, like it was totally fine and it worked super well. Like I think my tension, I pull too tight. And so when I was doing the top, I was a little bit gentler with my floss because I had just done a bunch of specialty stitches. And it went better. So if you struggle with over one, consider your tension and how tight you're pulling. So I really like this chart. This stitch along is going to start on March 14th. I think I'm going to do it. I'm starting to think maybe I won't. Like I'm still hemming and hawing about it. I was all in at first. I definitely want to stitch this. Don't get me wrong. I have stuff that I want because I just finished There's Always Room. I want another sampler that I finished, and I started Lucy Barber. I have another one that I want to show you. So it's that dilemma of neglecting my whips versus starting something new. I want a little bit more detail from Caroline about like how much of a monthly commitment it is, because I felt a little not overwhelmed isn't the right word, but it's a lot to grab. C is for Coffee every day, data portraits every day, which I haven't been doing because it just feels like a lot of switching for me. And then There's Always Room and Reaching Skyward. So Reaching Skyward, I'm sold, like I'm 20% in, I'm doing it. And so Lucy Barber, I'm not trying to keep up. I just wanted to start with everyone, but I am enjoying the stitch. I want to keep stitching on it. So I kind of want an idea from Ellen or Caroline, whoever's in charge, like how much of a commitment, like what's our time frame, what is this going to look like every month. I should probably, one of the things I really like about Ellen's charts is that she uses Wind Stitch or whatever Max Stitch. That is not in focus, I'm pretty sure, so I'm sorry about that. But she always has the number of stitches for each floss, so I could add those up and figure out the total stitches and then kind of figure out what the goal is, and maybe that'll help me make the decision. The other cool thing about the stitches is I'll show you the thread. So I got the thread pack from Evertote. So I bought the PDF online because I wanted the PDF for my pattern keeper. And then I got the thread pack on Evertote. Ellen has colors that I love that she reuses in her charts. So there were, I think I counted, don't quote me on it, but there were 9 colors that I used in There Is Always Room that are also in this chart. So I got the floss pack from Evertote because I didn't know what I was going to have left and all that jazz. And it was just easier. And it's Leo and Roxy Floss. Like, can you ever have enough Leo and Roxy Floss? Maybe, but I'm not there yet. So what I did is, here's my floss. The moral of the story is, here's my floss, but it's not how it came. It's all befuddled because I went through my floss pack that I got from Caroline from Evertote for this chart, and I took my floss ring from There Is Always Room, and I went through, and so if it was a color that wasn't in There Is Always Room, I kept it. If it was a color that was in There Is Always Room, I checked to see how many stitches I stitched in There Is Always Room, and if it was less than like what the combination was of, I think it's 3,500 stitches per skein roughly. I'm pretty conservative with floss. But anyways, so if I thought I had enough floss left over from There Is Always Room, I just moved it over and I pulled this fresh skein of floss out of this and put it in my stash, if that makes sense. So there's like fresh floss and already kitted floss, and then what I love really worked really well for me for There Is Always Room is I made these extra floss drops so that there's little pieces. There's just a few, I think I pulled like 3 or 4 of the 6 strands off of each like main floss card to like this, so then this little one became like my working thread for when I was actually stitching, and then this bigger hoop loop hung out in my Stitchy cart. So with a label on it, so I knew which project it belonged to. That's important because especially if you step away for a while. But the benefit of that is I feel like these are a little bit more manageable. The tangles, it gets tangled, but it's less floss to get tangled. It keeps this floss nicer. And so I have it like half kitted already, which is really fun. So what I'll do is this colors that I didn't already have going, I'll make my little cards that I just punch from like cardstock that I get. Cards, paraphernalia in the mail that's like made of cardstock, I'll punch. Inserts from designers that they send, I'll punch those and then just put holes in. Super simple. I have like a whole stack like in my drawer. So I will do that and then I'll be ready to go. And then what I had left over from there is Always Room. That doesn't go on this kit. I don't have anything else pending, like to start pending, like not kitted yet. I'm pointing over to where I put on my floss rings that I keep like my stash in, and I put the little, I didn't put the little cards back and get rid of them back on the main card. I put them together so that when I went to grab that color, I already had like my little mini card ready to go with a little bit of pieces on it. So I can just grab those out and use them for whatever I'm kitting. So if that's helpful to you, that's what that rand was for, just to see if it was helpful. So I think this is charted for Porcelain, recommended for Porcelain. I picked this 36 count odd duck. I have a tutorial for how I store my thread in my IKEA Alex drawers, so you can check out my tutorial playlist for that. But this is odd duck. It's a 36 count quarter yard, and I liked kind of how those colors looked with that. There was a lighter color from Bestitch Me from one of my club colors last year. That was like a light green color. I really liked it, but it was quite close to this asparagus, arugula. I keep getting those mixed up. Arugula is the lighter one. So it was really close to arugula. I did order artichoke in case I decided to go with that green. I think the artichoke's it's like between, these are the two greens, asparagus and arugula. Artichoke is right in between those two. So I did order that floss from Leo and Roxy in case I want to go back to that green linen. That's a green 40 count linen. I would have that color to substitute with the arugula, and I think I would be good to go. But I think all of these colors will look really great on Odd Duck. Let me pull the pins and show you a little bit better of a that's pretty good for color. So really fun. I just thought it would just add a little bit of interest to this kind of more, like the model is pretty, like a pretty clean color. I also thought about using some of my Cedar River linen. So that's the plan for now. So this is not haul. I got this about a month ago. But I wanted to show you together, and because I mean it's sitting here kind of pseudo kitted for the sale should I indeed try to decide to pull the trigger. Oh, I just found this like random piece of linen. So back to my sale items from my local LNS. This is a 28 count pearl gray cashel. It's just like a Skyward cashel linen. It's a piece. I don't know what the dimensions are. It would fit like an ornament or something. It was 25 cents. I'm sure I will use it for something. So that will go in like my little small offcuts. And that's all my haul. Okay, so plans. Let's see. So I kind of already talked about this a little bit. Like what's next after There's Always Room? I have a couple options. I have some time. I have like 3 weeks to decide if I'm actually going to start Ellen's chart, the new one. I do have some modifications I want to do with it. I'll talk about that in another video. I don't love the initial cartouches in the middle of the pattern, so I think I'm going to pull those out. I do like the quote. I don't know that I love the alphabet, so I'm just going to play with it. I think the border I can make work, so I can squeeze it in, and if I have to add a couple motifs, that's great, because she's got all those extra motifs in there. So I really need to get caught up on my D-Pip Sal, my Data Portraits in Paris. So I will probably work on that tonight. And I don't know why, like it seems like a lot of work, and then I sit down and do it, and it's not bad, and it's probably worse because I put it off for a couple days. Again, like, I just have hardcore loved There's Always Room. I have. So it really is, like Ellen said, like the ultimate sampler. It's got all those great elements in it, and I really, 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 this is going to sound crazy, but I really, 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 really loved the specialty stitches, especially the eyelets. Like, who am I? Like, I was like, oh, this is really fun. I totally do and enjoy an eyelet alphabet. I know that when I finally get to a sampler that has an eyelet alphabet, I'm going to be like, what the heck was I thinking? But for now, I'm going to tell myself that I love Algerian eyelets and I want to do them all the time. So anyway, so I couldn't put that piece down. So I have a couple options. I have loved and been very upset that I haven't gotten back to Rejoice Evermore. That is this sampler by the genius Brenda Gervais. This is what the chart looks like. Here's the close-up. And this is Ellen, Maximum Cross Stitch's Leo Roxy Floss Co conversion. The colors are similar. They're a little bit tealier. They're pretty awesome. Ellen did a marvelous job. I love Brenda's charts. I love the color chart that she does. So if you've never seen a Brenda chart, I'll just show you a little chunk just to show you they're in color. So that makes it really easy to read. The only downside is if you like a working copy and you don't want to waste a bunch of color ink, you're kind of out of luck. But I don't mind because it's just that much easier to read. So I have like a sad little start on this. When I put it on the scroll frames, I keep forgetting where I put stuff. I saw it and I was like, I really want to work on this. I almost picked it up and just worked on it. I'm like, no, get your other one done first. So this is on scroll frames, ready to go, even though I haven't touched it since like August or September last year when I started it. I think I made it work on it a couple days last year, but it has a pretty weak start. This is 46, because I cray. No, I actually enjoy stitching on 46. And it'll be a good switch because Lucy is on, I didn't tell you, Lucy Barber, Hands Across the Sea. She's on the 40 count called for TabbyCat. Don't remember. The 40 count TabbyCat that's called for. And so this is a 46. So I feel like between these two samplers, it'll like be a good switch up. I got some border and some other border. The border and some border. And then some burbs. Just a little bitty, like a little hint of a burb over there with the tree. And then the goal was to get over to the house. But I needed to also stitch the birds. These are the birds that have satin stitches in their wings. I need to know, and maybe I should look in Brenda's instructions, do I cross stitch under them to pad them, or do I have to go the opposite way and then the other way? Probably have to go the opposite way and the other way. I don't know. Someone said that they use like DMC underneath, and then they do, if they're using silk and then, or overdyed, and then they like use the overdyed on the top. But like for those little flowers, granted it wasn't a ton of satin stitching. I didn't even use like a whole strand of floss. My strands of floss are like 24 inches. Not quite that long maybe. Yeah, I think they're 24 inches or so. So I didn't feel like it took up a ton of floss. But anyways, the goal was to get to the house so that I would have fill-in again. I always try to work towards having pieces that I want to stitch on that have fill-in so that when I go somewhere or like, and it's not just like, because I don't really go anywhere. I don't, like before last week I didn't have any stitching meetups. But I know I have some retreats coming, and like if I go to my in-laws to like visit, I'll take this with and maybe do a little bit of fill-in as an example, or like in the car or something like that. Though this piece would be a little bit big for the car. Someone on Facebook, one of the Facebook groups today, had asked about sewing in hand and how they make it work in a hoop, how people make it work in a hoop. I was like, I just figured this out. I was so excited about the question. I don't make it work in a hoop. I make it work in a scroll frame. And then someone else was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, here's my YouTube tutorial. But also, I talked about how I offset my scroll rods. So this one, I have extra space over here on the left so that when I get it in the frame, get the sidebars on, I have room for my right hand. I said that wrong. I offset it to left justified so that I have extra space on the right hand side of my scroll frames so that when I'm stitching with my right hand using the sewing method, I have room between where I'm working and the sidebar. So, pro tip. I'm not a pro. Pseudo pro tip. So I do, in my notes I was like, what is my plan going to be? I'm pretty sure Rejoice Evermore is in my future. But I have the pattern that I've been having on my iPad on my lap the whole day, the whole time I've been filming. Dog's Declaration. Says Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Squirrels. This is my memorial piece that I'm stitching for my Yorkie that we lost last May. This is the one that I restarted recently on this. I was stitching over one previously on 25 count, and I switched over to on this 40 count fabric. It is Honey by Stitch Me. It was a Fabric of the Month Club piece. I have not worked on this since you've seen it last, and I have only a little restart. I'm still counting my start date from last year on this piece, and I did switch it to a Leo and Roxy Floss conversion. So here is what I have so far. I'm sorry, I can't see how I'm holding it. It's so wide. So I do want to get back to this piece as well and get at least a day or two of stitching. I don't know what it is about this month. Like, I feel like it's been almost the end of the month all month. And not all month, but like for the last week, I feel like the month is almost over. And it's really like only half over. I don't know if it's just the fact that it's a short month is like messing with my head. I don't know. So I feel like I don't have a ton of time left, but I really do. So I do want to try to get at least a day into this, maybe this weekend. Maybe that can be like my Friday night party piece. And then last but not least, the 24th and 25th of the month is coming up. C is for Coffee has got me really wanting to get back to this piece because I love me some heartstrings. I found that out stitching this piece that I'm going to show you. I love the colors. It's not like horribly Christmassy, but it doesn't matter. I just love this piece. So I've been trying to at least work on this. This is Hibernation Day with the Roxy Floss Co. Caroline's conversion for that. Caroline worked on hers this week in her last update, and she's almost got the houses done. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. I really like it, and I can't wait to get back to it. So here is my piece. So my plan, I wanted to get up to the houses because I always want to set up some good solid fill in. It makes me feel better somehow, even though I don't usually do it right away once I do it. So I did these two borders and then I worked my way up to get the houses in. I need to go back and fill in the berry bowls, get some words in. These trees are super fun. This border, this little red border is fun and has a good repeat on it. So even like her motif stitching is like zen. Like you can make it so that you don't have to check like every little stitch that you make. Check the chart for every little stitch that you make, I should say. I really love this piece and I can't wait to get back to it. This was one of the reasons Rejoice Evermore was a maybe for me, was because I might just want to work on Hibernation Day more, but I'm going to save it for now for the 24th and 25th and then see how I feel after that. I mean, my whims change constantly. I also need to go back and look at like my goals for the year. Rejoice Evermore was one that I said I want to finish this year. Nevermore by Leela's Studio, that's a Roxy Floss Co conversion. That one is one that I said I want to finish this year. I've got lots of time for that. I'm pretty sure like summer and fall for that one will call to me. Oh, I forgot to grab one piece. Is it in here? One moment, I think it is. So this is another holiday piece that I want to get out this month on the 24th and 25th. It is Christmas Eve by Prairie Schooler. That's that chart. I'm sorry, it's not focusing very well. So I have most of the counting done for this piece. I'm really close to having all the counting done. And then I just have all that snow fill in and the border. haven't looked at this in a while. I am stitching this on a piece of, so, oh, you can't see it because I moved it. It used to be right where Moonshine Cabin is, but it's up a little bit more. This is a piece of Billie Jean, which was the called for the collaboration, the holiday collaboration chart with Park Hopper Bart, Be Merry All. So this is 40 count Billie Jean, and I think it was like the other half of the cut that I got. So I was able to fit both pieces on one piece. So really I just have like the words to get in there into the snow, so I can fill in the snow, and then there's trees in between the houses there that have like the brown and then the snow. So like all the evergreens are in, but those brown trees with the snow on top have to get in. And then I decided to make the words red and green instead of these lighter colors. And then I got to do the border, like get that border going. And then the rest is fill in between the sled and the snow. There is this little dude right here. I don't love him. I think he's weird, which is odd because I like gnomes. But I don't know, like I don't love him enough to stitch him, if that makes sense. Like he's like not even touching the sleigh. He's just like hanging out there. I don't know. It's odd to me. So I don't think I'm going to stitch him. I think it's perfect how it is. I'll show you one more time. So my goal this month is to get the rest of the counting done, or most of the counting done, so I can get some snow and sled fill in and then be good to go. Oh, it looks like I've got red in the reindeer's harnesses too to do. And then there are some snowflakes that I'll have to count as well, but I was going to just say I'll do those last, but I can tell you right now, those are not what I want to do. So I'm not going to do them last, because that's just my personality. Like I will be mad at the end when I want to be done, and I'm super excited for it to be finished. And the snowflakes are fine. Like they're just fine to stitch. I have like 10 stitches, and then I have to like stop my thread and move to another spot and then start stitching again. Like that's the part that like, it's just a little bit too particular for like the end of the road, if that makes sense. So now that I've talked way more than I was like, oh, this will be a short one. It's fine. Those are my plans. That's all my stitching. It was really great to catch up with you all. Take a minute to like the video, subscribe, comment below. What were the questions that I asked today? I asked about finishing in perforated paper in different ways that aren't an ornament or a magnet. I asked about something about, how do you satin stitch, or do you have a different, not Nicola Parkman? I mean, she's like the guru, right? But do you have somebody else who you follow for a padded satin tutorial? When I search for it on YouTube, I find a lot of embroidery and not like cross stitch padded satin stitch. I'm sure the same principles apply, but some of those finer details I think are important. Yeah, or if you just have something to say or comment on, let's have a conversation down in the comments. I hope that you are all well. I hope that, I'm looking outside, that the storm doesn't impact you greatly. I know they're worried about, once it starts icing, power lines and those kinds of things. So I hope that you have a great week or two until I come back again. Take care, and I will see you soon. Bye.